Hi. Okay. The reason I say it like that is for a couple reasons now. Oh boy. It's been a very long day. We just did an entire intro and I forgot to hit the record button, so I wanted to start off this week's movie Music Mondays like Ross did at the beginning of Friends, and it's just a very like hi, because everything I just said I have to say again, and I feel like I did it perfectly considering the circumstance.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're recording this on Easter Sunday, right before this week's installment, so I hope everybody had a great Easter.
We all hope you guys did, for the second time saying it for us.
Shut up. Spent either with family, friends, or just by yourself. I know personally for me it was just a nice kind of little break from work, so very nice. We had a very nice day with a bunch of our friends, volleyball, basketball, just hanging out and everything, so it was some good quality time. So but it was just a very long day, so I'm very tired, so that's why I started it off the way that I did.
Well, there's another reason why.
Yeah, but I'm just very tired. I was this close to going to sleep, but Thomas knocked on my door and basically was like, hey, we got to release this episode. So.
Oh, I just knocked on his door and left because I saw he was asleep.
Yeah, he gave up. But we're still going to do it anyway because we're professionals and that's just what we do. But where did I go with this before I had just started over
talking
again?
About why.
Oh, okay. So basically the explanation as to why we didn't have an episode out last week. The recorder that we use, I don't know if you guys can see it, this bad boy. I guess the SD card that I initially bought for it has been working for the most part without flaw for us up until Jade's episode. But right before Jade's episode came out, there was just like a slew of issues and I was trying to edit it and it was just a complete headache. And then we recorded, ain't this something? We recorded what we're about to talk about, a whole like 50 minutes worth of content. And I went in to edit it and put it out for you guys, and it was just completely broken. Like the audio from this thing, the camera is fine. Like the camera's been doing really good things for us. Also, our last episode with Jade, I think it was the Jade episode, has 90 views. Now on YouTube.
Wow.
Which, thank you very much, you guys, for looking at it. I know that maybe like a week of absence, just everybody went back and looked at Jade's episode.
Probably. They're like, where's the episode? Where's the episode?
But she was really cool and it was really great to meet her. So Jade, if you're listening, thank you again for being on last week, or 2 weeks ago now, I guess. But yeah, so editing was just a complete nightmare. I wanted to fix the problem and not just produce another episode that was just super like so
yeah. We figured out what the problem was.
Yeah, so I know the end of the Jade episode was kind of like fractured, but this time we figured it out. I guess the SD card I bought was just good for how long we used it for, and then it just like got completely fried just about.
It was just the wrong SD card. We were using a micro one and use a SD micro reader to record, so like it basically just shot itself in the head and just was tired of our
Okay,
BS.
well, maybe we described that in a different way.
Sorry, it just was done with our BS, basically. So
yeah, it said, I'm a head out.
Yeah, basically. So we invested in a regular SD card with 128 gigs. So
correct. All the jokes that I make about Thomas just funding the upload ability for the podcast, he bought the SD card. So
yeah.
Let's give a round of applause for Tom.
I knew he had a headache, so I was like, I don't think he wants any more headaches with money, too.
I was like, dang, should I just say, bro, do you mind like getting this for us? And then he just sent me a screenshot of it. I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Well, you're lucky because there's a 2-for-1 deal, because it was only like $20 for 2 SD cards, and I already needed a new one for my camera anyway, so.
Yeah, so everything worked out in the end. But the moral of it was we recorded this entire thing that we're about to get started, and we couldn't use any of it. So this is take 2 of recording our review for an album, and hopefully when we go back through it, everything is A-okay, which is funny considering the album that we're about to talk about.
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
So I get the big bucks.
All right.
So this week was an album, and the one that was selected was the album TV by Tai.
Verdes.
Is it Verdes? Okay, because the first time we did this, I pronounced his name wrong. So Tai Verdes, and the album is called TV. This was suggested by the phenomenal Lucy Jung, a friend of the show and Craig Nader's girlfriend. So you guys have heard Lucy. You haven't seen her, but
I mean the one that you didn't know it was her on campus.
Yes. So before we start with this funny story, so Lucy recently dyed her hair red, and I was leaving class one day, and I saw what I thought was you, Lucy, on campus, but I saw the red hair, and I was like, oh, that's not Lucy, because Lucy was blonde, right, when I met her, I think.
Yeah, that's the wrong guy.
So I just like kept walking, and I texted Craig, and I was like, "Does Lucy have red hair?" I said, "No." I said, "Does Lucy Jung have red?" Like I used your full name. I was like, "Does Lucy have red hair?" And Craig was like, "Yes." And I said, "Well, that's awkward because I just walked past." So if I see you again now, Lucy, from going forward, then I will say something to you because I didn't know it was you. But to make up for it, we're reviewing your suggestion this week, even though it's supposed to be last week. But we're reviewing your suggestion. So. Without further ado, let's get into it. We're 6 minutes in, and we haven't talked about the album yet. So
honestly, that's good because we're making up for time last week.
True. I am trying to be professional because this time I actually have handwritten notes down.
I don't.
If I didn't mention this, we did not listen to the album again before making this review. We listened to it once before 2 weeks ago when we originally made our video. So... Full disclosure, we're kind of going based off of memory, but Thomas and I both have played some songs from this album throughout the week. So.
And I also listened to him before. Like I've listened to Tai Verdes and this album, well, some parts of the album before actually doing this review. So
yeah, so if it sounds kind of sometimes like we don't know what we're talking about, welcome to Perspective, but also it's just because the entirety of the album we haven't heard in 2 weeks, but we are going to do the best we can, and I still have my notes. So, but yeah, so getting started with the notes that I have, and in the first take that we did, Thomas didn't really talk that much, but if he remembers, then perhaps
I'm probably not going to talk that much anyways, but I'm just joking.
Sweet.
I'm just joking. I have nothing else to say.
So the album starts out with a song called Real World.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's one tone for the first, what did I say it was? The first, about 3 or 4 songs in the album. It has, in my mind, it has one message, and then it skips to a different message. So the beginning, to start off the album, is a song called Real World. And essentially, it just talks about... kind of, because Tai Verdes he's pretty young. He's like 22, 23. He's a pretty young guy.
He's a college dropout, yeah.
Yeah, so it talks about school, and it talks about basically like the world wants you to put a bunch of value into this piece of paper, which is a bunch of joke that college students, like ourselves included, and just people that just got out of high school and a high school diploma. It just talks about people want you to put value into a piece of paper when really you're just kind of like worth so much more than that. And he just talks about how he kind of like deviates from the norm about, hey, the world wants me to be this way, but it's like, nah, I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna go this direction. Mm-hmm. So that's how the album starts, with that first song. The one lyric that I have on here that kind of embodies that message in my mind said, "You're just a number to serve our funds, and when you kill over, you can be done." So it's basically just saying like your life, you're predestined. That's a word, right? Predetermined, predestined. I don't know. It's late. I'm tired. For a purpose that you might not want to serve. And his message basically, and if you have anything else that you want to add on to it, which is why music is so beautiful, because people can interpret it in different ways. Music and movies, which is why I love this segment. But it's basically the world sets you up to do one thing, just get old, make money, provide for yourself, maybe provide for a family, die, repeat the cycle. Your kids do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it talks about that, but he's like, no, you know what? Like, that's stupid. I don't agree with that. I'm going to be Tai Verdes and be myself. So that was the first song in the album. That's what I took from it. Was there anything you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, I agree in a lot of senses that the point of this song is to say that you don't. It's okay to stray from the norm because the norm isn't always the norm. It's okay to not be everyone else. It's okay to be yourself. And in this song, I think this is like an introduction to him being in the real world because I was gonna say this later, but I can say this now. But I think the album called Being TV is basically supposed to be like a reality TV show about from him graduating high school, going to different points of his life and doing through different courses of his life. So the first song, "Real World," is him graduating high school, and going out into the real world and doing his own thing and comparing himself to other people that is going to college, going to do other things, trying to live a bigger life, trying to make money from a bigger job. But that's not everyone's path. Like he's saying that predetermined path you were saying is not
That's
the same
what I
for
was
everyone.
looking for.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how the album started. Second song in the album is called Solamente, which means only in Spanish. And for what this song was talking about, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
This one I didn't have a whole lot of notes on. It just talked about kind of being by yourself, not really being able to trust a bunch of people because you just kind of you keep to yourself and you know what's best for you. So you just kind of want to be a loner, but not in like a bad sense. It's just kind of like, I know what's good for me. There's not a lot of there's a lot of fake people out there. So
Yeah.
I think that being by myself only, solamente, is what's best for me. So
He's learning about himself. He's learning about the things in the real world through his own perspective. Weird P word. Sorry.
Son of
But
a
like
bee.
it is true. Like he's going through his own experiences, not taking other people's experiences as his own. So he's just solo dolo, trying to be himself in the real world.
Good song. Didn't really have a whole lot of notes on it other than that. The next song, and kind of the last song in a way, either this song or the next song is the last song and kind of
Like the first chapter.
So I think these three are kind of like the first episode, maybe, or the season of what you were talking about. That is TV, the album. So the next song is called Drugs, which I think at this point, Real World was really good, but I think Drugs was probably at this point my favorite, just out of the three that we listened to.
One of my favorite songs, yeah.
Just because it had a really good melody with a la da 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 da. Like, I really like that. But the message behind this song I thought was pretty interesting. And the way that I interpreted it was basically he talks about kind of wanting to take drugs or just some sort of substance that would take him and put him in basically an out-of-body experience. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I thought was cool, which was different and how I took it, was he talks about doing drugs, but he doesn't talk about doing like the drugs that will kill him kind of drugs. It's more like psychedelics or something that would just make him have another P word. And then you just slipped up and said it.
Sorry.
For those of you that don't know, we use the P word a lot here, the name of the podcast. So it's a joke within our circle that we just say the P word now. We don't actually say the word. So Thomas just got a slap on the wrist because he actually said the word. But
sorry, I guess that's worse than cursing.
Correct. You could say the F word all day. Yeah. I mean. Anyway, yeah. So even a line in specific.
Sorry, I have to tell you something real quick. So, this is so off topic, but real quick. I was on a FaceTime call with Jade earlier this week, and she was at home, and she brought up like me cursing a lot on the podcast, and she was like, "Why do you curse so much?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Grauman. I just have a foul mouth." And she was
her
like,
mom was on.
Yes,
it?
her mom was on FaceTime, and she was like, and then she also brought up my underwear about the whole thing. Remember that? I was like, "Oh my gosh!" She was like, "Do you have any more?" I'm like, I threw them all out, I promise. So I have new ones. And she was like, "Okay, good." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm gonna try not to curse as much because
that was just for an example.
He's not
actually cussing.
But like I'm gonna try not to curse as much because Mrs. Grotman listens to it. This is for you, Mrs. Grotman.
Sounds like such a sweet lady. So if you're watching, hello, shout out to you. Yeah. So drugs. Talked about kind of what I was going into, and there was a line in the song. I'll try and find it that literally said, I'm doing drugs.
Hard ones, just ones that change my mind up.
Yeah. So I was just looking at it. Sometimes I do drugs, not hard ones, just the ones that change my mind up. So he's saying I'm doing drugs, but not the kind that you need to check in on me for. It's just kind that make me see life in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way that I took it. I thought that was pretty interesting because at first you would look at it and you think about, at least for me, when you think about drugs, you think about it, and drugs for me is just a very like hard word. So you just think about it in a kind of a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
But in this song, he's basically saying like, no, like it's not bad. I'm fine. It's just I just want to kind of
experience like a different
look at life through a different lens, basically.
Yeah.
So that was what I had for that song.
I agree. Like I think this song was really good in talking about putting the word drugs and changing it into a different connotation rather than being a negative one, because you're right, a lot of people when they hear the word drugs they think of a negative connotation, when in reality there's different drugs that help you see a different lens, see also even like help you with yourself. Like a lot of people have like anxiety, depression, and like those are drugs that people forget are helpful with your body. So even drugs, because some people can't get prescribed drugs for those, people use different sources of drugs or different types to ease anxiety and depression. And I think that's probably what he was talking about, because I know Tai Verdes does struggle with some anxiety things. So yeah.
Sweet. So like we said, those first three songs probably had, in our mind, their own message, and then the album takes a bit of a transition. So the album starts off by talking about being very different and out of the ordinary and kind of just knowing who you want to be, but sometimes you just feel trapped because society wants you to feel one way about yourself, but you look at yourself and you're like, well, nah, I don't want to be a part of what they want me to be a part of. I want to be myself. So it goes from that to talking about a woman and talking about girls and just it, not just specifically girls, but just kind of like relationships in general and how somebody makes you feel, which I feel like is the theme throughout a lot of movies and albums anyway, is love. And people just kind of express that in a lot of different ways.
I think this is like the chapter where he meets a woman and like how it affects him and everything. So the first chapter, first episode, you were saying it's about him being on his own. Second one is going to be about a woman.
So the first song in this is called We Would Have Some Cute Kids, which I didn't really have a whole lot of notes on, but I think to start off that message, that's a really cool song because I feel like it just kind of encapsulates maybe sometimes what all of us think, like the whole game about, wow, I like this girl, I like this guy, let me put their last name on the end of mine and like see how it sounds. So this song kind of gave me a similar
I was actually just thinking that. That's
really?
Why, I was laughing in my head because I was like, I was literally just thinking the same exact thing.
So this song kind of gives me that kind of vibe. We're just talking about, you know what, like me and that girl, we'd have some really cute kids together. And that's essentially what the song talks about. It's just saying, is that what you have pulled up right now?
Yeah, I said literally the first lyric says, I've seen your face and we would have some cute kids.
Yeah. So that's how I interpreted it, and I just kind of look at that as in like a very fantasy kind of message about being in a relationship or just having strong feelings for somebody. Was there anything more you want to say about that?
No, I think this is just like this song is a really good embodiment of like the first lovey-doveys you have whenever you either are dating someone for the first time or like early stage, or like if you have a huge crush on someone, like you said, you're talking about, what if I put their last name? What would it sound like with mine and stuff like that? Like those are the kind of feelings he's feeling right now, and it's great because it's very cute. It's like a very adorable thing. You talk about like I think this is a song where he talks about like he could be a family man. He changed, like I think that's the lyric where
like I wouldn't want to be a family guy, but you're making me think that.
Yeah, right here. So yeah, baby, let's pack the minivan, see the Hoover Dam. You're making me a real family man. I'm like, those are like hard lyrics. Like family man, that's hard. That's crazy.
So yeah, I feel like that was a very good introduction to kind of the overall message that the next few songs have. So the next song is called "Stuck in the Middle," which is actually a TikTok audio. So if none of you guys have heard the song, if you take a listen to it, immediately you'll know what it is. This is the Home Depot song, right? Where like it starts out with the Home Depot melody, where I think it sounds like.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what you got inspired by.
Yeah, so that's what this song is.
Yeah.
This then, because I'd heard it before, but also just because of a really powerful lyric on here, this was now my favorite song until the next song. So to me, that's the sign of a good album where you're like, damn, that was really good. And then you go to the next song, you're like, damn, that was really good. So similar to a band that I'm not going to talk about because we've oversaturated it completely. But for those of you that listen consistently, you know what album we're talking about.
We are just riding them hard.
Our favorite band, but they deserve it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this song, the lyric that really stood out to me. So this song talked a lot about being stuck in the middle of a friendship and a relationship with somebody. And for those of you that listen to this show regularly, I've gone through something like that similarly over the past few months. And there was a point where it really kind of bothered me a lot. And I think that this song did a very good job of just kind of representing what I was feeling through his own experiences. But the one lyric that really stuck with me said, "We're stuck in the middle of lovers and friends, and we're losing every part of the benefits." So I went through a period where there was a girl that I really liked. And kind of in the process of deciding, like, what are we? We're not ready to kind of, like, be official, be the next step, everything like that. That sounds gross. I mean, that sounds weird the way that I talk about it.
It's
but
like Allie.
it's just, yeah. But it's true. That's what happened. And in the process of just kind of figuring everything out, we just lost so much of, like, what made our relationship good in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So this song really spoke to me. I know you've heard it a lot more than I have. So
Well, I like this song as well because you see it through the lens of like a relationship and like I mean I go kind of the same way, but I can see this through like a friendship as well because friendships, any relationship, any ship, I guess, goes through rough patches, and like usually whenever you go through a rough patch with like a friend, sometimes you don't know like where you guys stand. You're kind of just stuck. Like I know we've gone through that before. Like we were friends before, but like we just didn't know where we stood before. And I mean that's just something you guys don't know until you talk about things. And yeah, it spoke to me a lot. Maybe not as much as you do, or like as much as it did to you. But
yeah.
it is a great song, and it's just really catchy as well. So.
That was the first thing that I said on our first take of this, which I think is actually pretty funny. Lucy, in a very cordial way, F you, because it seems as though a lot of and I mean that affectionately, of course, I don't actually mean it. But a lot of these songs and movies and everything that we've been watching, not just for you guys, but also for us, just kind of for pure form of entertainment, they seem to come at very specific and weird times.
Yeah,
like it makes sense for where we are in life. So a lot of what Tai talks about in this album, I'm just like, we were sitting back and I was like, damn. Like I literally looked back at you a couple of times, like when we were listening to the album, I was like,
he was like, oh my goodness.
because it relates so much, and it's just, you just can't help but just be like, all right, damn it. But same with the other album, again, that we're not going to talk about, just came at a very important time, which I talked to my mom about the other day, actually.
Wow.
Because she listened to the album, or she listened to like
All the
some of
Way?
the songs. I don't know about All the Way.
Okay.
But she was like, yeah, I remember you guys talking about it came at a very, or you talked about it came at a very important time in your life, and it sounds like they're singing through a cup the whole time and everything. And I'm like, mom's just being a hater. But,
all right.
but yeah, so I think that's funny that these songs and albums and movies and stuff like that come at a really very specific time in our life, which is hilarious to me. But anyway, the next song, which this was I think definitely top 2 or 3 for me on the album. But the song is called Bad Bad News, which it had its own message, but it just had a complete like melody flip, because this one was a lot more like R&B soulish, because it starts out with an artist that we listen to, which you guys should also listen to, and maybe at some point we can review his album, Bruno Major, where it's just a complete like very slow melodic tone to it. But easily at this point, it was my favorite song in the album. Basically just talks about like hey, I got some bad news for you. I really like you. And even one of the lyrics throughout the song talks about, don't act like you don't like this bad news because you've probably been waiting for me to say this for a while. But yeah, complete change in the melody and tempo. Huge fan of it. The lyric that really struck me said, don't care if I live my whole life confused, I'll be clueless with you. So again, just talking about blind love and just kind of, I don't know where this is going to take us, but I'll go on the journey with you kind of thing. So
I've never heard this song before. So like most of the songs before I listened to. But when I heard this song for the first time, I think me and Cole looked at each other like, ooh, like we were not expecting that at all.
I remember I looked back at Thomas immediately and I was like, oh, this song is good.
Yeah, it was just not what I was expecting because just like Cole said, it was just a different change of pace. It was a change of pace of like what he normally sings, because he normally sings like upbeat, I would say like pop style music. Would you say?
It's pop, but it's very like R&B bass pop.
Yeah, it's like R&B bass pop, but like this song was like you can feel like it was R&B type style.
Yeah,
and, like it was a really good change of pace and sounded very pleasing to listen to. So the message overall was really good. Just saying, because I had the same lyric too, saying was it no matter what? I forgot the lyrics. It was called. Yeah, I don't care if I live my whole life confused, I'll be clueless with you. That's a hard message, because I say hard as in like it was really good, because that shows the love that he has for this woman no matter what happens, and that's some true love dedication right there. So
yeah. So you go from this song, which is a lot slower and just has its own like, hey, hate to break it to you, I'm in love with you kind of vibe to it, to a song called Something to Cry About, which just kind of talks about like the pains of falling in love and just having these super strong feelings for somebody. Like the song itself even just starts out saying, I kind of like it when we fight, but that's a secret that I saved just for myself. Like it's just like it's not going to be easy, but we're gonna fight for it and we're gonna make it work just because just how much I like you. So the one lyric that stood out to me said, writing all of my feelings down, when you read them, just sound it out. So for me, the reason that I thought that was pretty cool was sometimes when people talk about their feelings, it's pretty hard sometimes to kind of just empathize with people. I try to be really good about it, and I mean we're all not perfect, so it's just kind of hard to feel sometimes what somebody else is feeling. But in this sense, he's just saying, when I write down my feelings, either in these lyrics or in some other sense, sound it out, because some people have a lot better time understanding something when they speak it out loud. So he's just talking about a little bit kind of like empathy and understanding how he's feeling about somebody, and he just kind of talking like cynical almost about like, I like it when we fight because it's like we're seeing each other truly and we just need to like work stuff out. So
this is a good song because I think he talks about one of the lyrics. He says, maybe let my emotions out, my therapist would be so proud of me. And that's right before your lyrics of, oh, I'm writing all of my feelings down, when you read them out, just sound them out. And I think this is like a really good lyric and just good song overall, because it talks about how he's speaking his emotions for the first time to this girl, and like I guess she's just not receiving it, or like just does not understand it, so that's why he's writing it out. And like you said, in order for her to understand better, he wants her to read it out, but even all through that, he knows that he's loving her like unhealthily. It's not a two-way street right now. It's just a one-way street.
Yeah. So the latter half of the album, there were a couple songs, unless you have something different, I didn't have a whole lot of notes on. They were good songs, but I think of the ones that we listened to on the album, these ones, I guess in a certain sense, just I didn't enjoy as much. They were good songs, but I just didn't have a whole lot of notes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I mean, so the next two songs after that are "Fake Prophet" and "I Deserve to Be Alone," which kind of fall under the similar "Liking Somebody" tree in the album. Did you have any like specific notes about these songs?
If I remember correctly, it was something about Fake Prophet where, I think Fake Prophet was talking about how his girl that he was dating before was also, or like the girl that he was dating at the time, her previous ex was like big famous people, and he was kind of like jealous of them, and like saying that he has to compare himself to like his ex's or his girlfriend's ex, so he was always worried about that. But then he realizes like, I'm being a fake prophet and like telling people to live their own life and be themselves, while I'm over here actually worrying about other people's lives and trying to be them, when in reality I'm just, being a fake prophet.
Yeah.
And I think those are good lyrics because sometimes in our lives we lose sight of our path, we lose sight of our goals, and it's good to acknowledge it and come back to the road and come back to the pathway that we were originally on. So
Yeah.
that's it for Fake Prophet. I think
"Deserve to Be Alone." You have anything for that one?
not really. That one's just another song that's just talking about, I think, after just a breakup, saying he needs to be alone. He deserves to be alone at this time in order to heal and become a better person. Other than that, no.
Yeah. So the next song that I had notes about was called "Feeling This Bad Never Felt So Great," which again just kind of goes along with the theme that we've been talking about of just loving someone's hard, either like in terms of a girlfriend, wife, husband, boyfriend, something like that, or just even your friends. Sometimes you just love somebody so much that you just want to work everything out, even though there might be some times where you just really despise somebody for kind of the actions that they make. I don't
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's another case of Cole trying to talk smarter than his mouth will let him. But yeah, so this one had a really specific lyric that I interpreted very differently, and then the first time that we did this take, Thomas and I talked about it a little bit, and we just kind of worked through how cool I thought it was, really. So the lyric was, "You got my hoodie, but you can use it. I got 6 more, and they keep me warm just fine." And the way that I interpreted that was this girl that he likes keeps his hoodie, and he can see that it means a lot to her, and that's a sign of like, hey, I have a boyfriend, this is his hoodie. Because that's a thing just kind of throughout relationships where it's just like the girls tend to borrow the guy's clothes or something and just wear them like jerseys and hoodies and stuff like that. But this one, the reason that I thought that this lyric was so cool was it's just saying he can see how important that is to her, but he's saying like, well, one, it's just a hoodie. I got 6 more. Like they all keep me warm.
Yeah.
And like you guys know, there's hoodies that might be warmer than others. Whatever, you have a better design. Even if it's your favorite one, she can keep that because that it just means so much to her. But I'm chilling at home because I got another hoodie and it works just the same. So that's been a pretty cool concept just thinking about in relationships, and I think for him to kind of put it in that way really spoke to me, just kind of like in a different way.
And I remember you talking about the first take when we were recording that, is that even you can interpret it as like you have a sentimental value to this hoodie, but like I don't really, like it's just a hoodie to me.
Yeah.
And, like it's just something to keep me warm, and I have 6 more at home. That doesn't, you can take as many as you want. But now actually listening to the song a week now, because I've actually been listening to the song. This is talking about like after a breakup. So like he probably had a sentimental value to that hoodie now, probably in relation to her now, but now that they've broken up, because the lyrics right after it says, it follows up, I'm learning to be with just me. Up in my head, it gets scary. Haven't called you back in weeks, but this is the first time I feel carefree. And like I think it's talking about how the reason why he said those lyrics is because he doesn't have a sentimental value to those sweatshirts anymore or hoodies, because now he is moving on to become himself, and now he's ready to be alone and feel himself now, feel his own emotions.
So yeah, that was kind of the last song that had a lyric that I just thought was super like, whoa, like when we heard it, it was just, I need to like take a step back for a second and think about it. Um, the next song was called Happy Till It Hurts. Pretty good message. I didn't really have any other notes about that one. If you did specifically, what was kind of like the central idea for this one? Do you remember?
This one was just talking about that that he's in this like carefree lifestyle right now. When I say carefree, it means like he's living a life that he's just trying to be as happy as possible, no matter how much it hurts him later on.
Yeah.
Like, he's just trying to feel happy, trying to be his own thing. Because he said, what was it? One of the lyrics said, "Gave up 10 times, but not enough to go back home again. I don't got my friends because I broke hearts. Scream words, truth hurts, eat dirt." So it's just basically talking about how like he's just trying to be his happy, and he kind of like cut off a lot of people to do his own happiness. Another, he said, "Smoked a joint and then I did a couple shrooms just to feel something and be happy." He's just trying to be happy until it hurts him later on. So that's pretty much it for this song.
So the last, kind of looking back on it now more too. So we said that there were kind of two themes. The first one was talking about kind of being yourself and deviating from what you think the world wants you to be, to talking about a girl and relationships, or not even just a girl, just somebody important in your life that you really care about. Kind of fighting through that and kind of the emotions and everything that you feel through that process. And then the end of the album, I feel like he kind of reflects on himself a little bit, specifically with this second to last song called "Mama Told Me I'm a Bee." And this song, I remember I talked about in the first take that we did. It reminded me a lot of "Special" by SZA when we reviewed that album, when we reviewed SOS. I think this would be like a really good and a really sweet song live, because I think, was this like a ukulele song?
It was like a ukulele,
or like a guitar,
mainly a ukulele like guitar combo.
Yeah.
Much.
It had a lot. There was a lot softer tone behind it, and it just talked about like one of the first lyrics in the song says, his mom is saying, "Time to go. You're too special to lay around in my house and take up space." So it kind of just talks about that like mother-son relationship where it's like, my baby I know is something special, and kind of going along with tying into rather what happened at the beginning of the album, talking about I know that I'm special and I want the world to see it kind of thing. And in this song it's talking about my mom knows that I'm special. So it like just the whole song talks about my mom told me I'm going to be a star one day. He talks a lot about his parents kind of throughout the album, about how his dad kind of like thought that him dropping out to pursue music was stupid and kind of weird, but his mom was like, "Hey, you go out there, you do it, you be yourself." And then at the end of the song, it even says, it talks about them moving him into his house in LA, kind of trying to pursue his dreams, make money. And it says, your mom hugged me and said, "You're just getting started. I know that my star will find a way." And just talks about, even if everything doesn't work out, you can come home because I'm still going to love you. And at the end of the day, you can say that you tried. You tried to make a name for yourself in the music business. And I think he has so far. So,
yeah, this song was good because I think this would be, if we're still talking about like a TV episode sense, this would be an episode where he's reflecting on his life after everything that's just gone through. This is an episode where he's reflecting from the beginning, trying to see who's been there for him from the beginning. And as you can see, it's his mom. He's just talking about, first lyric says, "Mama told me I'm going to be a star one day." The next couple of lyrics saying, "You're going to do something for the human race." Another one said, "Mama told me I'm going to be a star one day. Went to all the games I didn't play." And he's reflecting on like who was his biggest supporter, and it was always his mom. Because later on, as Cole was talking about, he talks about how he's moving to LA and he's gonna figure this out on his own now, because now, even though he's on his own, his mom is always gonna be there to help him. Because at the end of the lyrics, he's saying that It said, but she helped me move to my apartment in the center of downtown LA. So he's now moving on to bigger things, but he has to remember that he looks back and says, my mom has always been there for me and is my biggest supporter. So even if I think I'm alone, I'm not alone because my mom is always there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Um,
great, sweet song.
yeah. So super sweet. Like I said, I think it'd be phenomenal in person. So if he's ever in the area and I get to go see him, I really hope. Even though this is his second most recent album, if he performs that song, I feel like that'd be really dope.
Great. Like seeing him in person was amazing. Honestly,
Did he play that song in person?
he didn't play that song. He played mainly his like popular songs. So he played, because he also had another album that came out that year, which was HDTV. So he played some songs from there, which is really good. But he played most of his most popular songs from here, which was A-OK. We Would Have Some Cute Kids, Drugs, and Stuck in the Middle. Those are his big songs.
Yeah.
In this album.
I could imagine that he would be a really cool person to see live.
Great performer. He was also high on stage, which made it 10 times better because he was funny.
Shout out to song Drugs. Be safe. Don't do drugs.
Well, only ones that change your mind.
Or you can send one message. We'll send it different.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, the last song in the album, which Thomas just brought up, was called A-OK, which is a top 3 song for me. Definitely one of those, like, listen in the car with the windows down, just kind of with your friends, chilling out kind of thing. And it just kind of ties the whole thing together. Just talks about, hey, everything that I just talked about, all of the stress and the struggles and trials and tribulations that I just wrote out for all of you guys in these songs, at the end of the day, everything is going to be okay. Like, no matter what life throws at you, you're going to be fine and you're going to make it out okay. So that was my essential.
Yeah, so hearing this song like a lot, because I play the song a lot, it's a good reminder to think like no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what is happening, you will know at the end of the day that you will eventually be a-okay, no matter what's going on. And it's a good reminder because we all get caught up in our lives and think like, oh, we're not going to be able to graduate, we're not going to be able to finish this class well, we're not going to be able to, I don't know, make this deadline, we're not going to be able to get this job. Eventually it's gonna be okay, because I think it was two summers ago that I was in those like slumps as well, and you kept reminding me like you're gonna be fine, like everything's gonna be fine, because you had a lot of things you were telling me like I had a lot of things lined up, but like my response was like, yeah, but like I'm not there yet, like I'm just sitting here just in my room every single day doing nothing, going to the gym, and you're like, dude, that's fine, like it's all eventually gonna be okay. Here I am. So
yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything else really in the first take or just kind of in general that we had extra notes that we wanted to talk about.
I think like the representation of TV and how he played each song was very good. Like the way he I guess went about it, because he separated each song as in part of his lives, and it was really, really good, because it was basically like watching a TV, but instead of watching a TV, you were listening to like a TV show.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting, because it's just very like a new way to think about it, because many people don't really talk, like people talk about their lives and talk about their experiences through songs as well, but it's not as like concise as this. At least I don't know other albums that are concise like this, because it's very easy just to follow along and see like what he's feeling at this moment in this song. So
yeah,
that's what I have to say. I don't know what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have anything extra. I think we're about to give a rating. I think lyrically alone, I would hold this album in a lot higher regard, just because kind of the point that I was at and still am in life, and just kind of the message that a lot of these lyrics conveyed. So lyrically alone, I would give this album a 10. In totality, just with some of the things, I guess, in my opinion of the song, sometimes maybe the song sounded a little bit the same. They had a pretty similar vibe to him and everything.
Yeah.
His voice sometimes I was kind of, I don't really know. I probably used like a 7.5. Solid like 7.5.
I think that's what I said last time. I think when we went first time, I think I was around like 7.5, closer to 8, maybe 8.5. Like not really, because you're all right. Most of the songs did sound like repetitive or this like very similar.
Yeah.
And that's just his style of music. But I don't really blame you for that because, unlike Harbor, that band,
we were so close.
a lot of his songs don't sound like the same because like our band have a lot of songs that like you can't really tell which song is which sometimes.
Yeah.
So this like him, you can tell which song it is, but you can feel the same vibes most of the time. Like it's very flatline, same vibes for the most part.
Yeah.
So
what will be your like concrete rating?
I'd say like 8 then.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we give SZA? Like
Ask
8.
Allie. She would know. She'll remember.
I think it was like 8.5.
No, I think I said like 6.5, 7. Maybe.
Really?
I think so.
Oh yeah, my rating was higher than you because then Allie got on us and she was like, "Well, you guys don't know music, so."
Yeah, and I'm like,
Word. But yeah, I feel like based off of like everything that we've kind of heard and everything, I think it's pretty solid. Answers to that. As to try and not keep it as long as a perspective episode, we're going to cut it. But also, because I didn't mention this at the beginning, we are in another new setting. We're in Thomas's room.
oh yeah.
The last 2 places you've seen, the first one was in Allie's apartment. The second one was in our common area, and then now this is Thomas's room. This is where a lot of, if not most of, like season 1, like where the episodes came from, were completely in this room, other than maybe like 3 of the episodes. So
yeah, like when we had guests on, it was like outside, but
Zuri was out in the common area. Brandon we did in the common area.
mm-hmm.
And then the first one we did out there. And I think every other one that we did was in here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
I was always this comfortable too.
Yeah, because it sounds better in here, but also he gets to do that. So like
it's so comfy.
Like the Don't Worry Darling episode that we did where he was just... So
yeah, I heard Christina commented about like like how comfy I was.
Christina was like, "Dang, he looks really comfy in that."
Oh, you should like look at all my squishmallows and everything.
Which
right
was
now.
true. Yeah,
I'm
he's
so comfy.
got the whole setup over here.
So,
but yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in to this week's Music and Movie Monday. Next week will be a movie. We haven't gotten there yet. Because what are these noises you're making?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
Next week is going to be a movie. We'll figure that out. If anybody has not given us a suggestion yet, please put it either on this episode's announcement on Instagram or on YouTube when you guys hopefully listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, am I missing anything?
I remember last week at the end, this was just a quick thing, give a review of The Truman Show because...
Yes, so Thomas talked about it in the Don't Worry Darling episode, that Don't Worry Darling was just kind of a cheap knockoff of The Truman Show. And we watched The Truman Show, and I was blown away. Super sweet, super cool message.
Amazing movie. Golly.
Definitely, if that's what they were going for, which pretty much is what was happening, Truman Show, phenomenal movie. So if you guys get the chance to watch that, highly recommend it.
What would you rate it?
No lower than a 9. Probably higher.
I'd probably say like 9.2, 9.5.
If I really have to think about it, but that's not what this episode's for. Yeah. So just off the top of my head, no lower than a 9. Jim Carrey killed it. He's normally known for being a lot sillier and goofy.
Yeah.
He was in this movie.
But he was like more serious.
At certain points, but this was like an Oscar performance. Mm-hmm. He didn't win. I don't even think he was nominated, but
he wasn't.
In my mind, an Oscar like winning performance. Like he definitely could have won in the year that this came out. But yeah, so without trying to drag this out any longer than it needs to be and saving you guys' energy for Wednesday when we don't know yet, on. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and end it here. So until Wednesday, everybody, we will see you later. Peace.
Bye, y'all.